I've had a medical condition called polycystic ovaries all my adult life. And it is a condition that has completely defined my entire adult life. And in fact, yesterday I was just talking to someone about the impact that it's had. And it's not an over-exaggeration to say that it has totally defined, it is most extreme. It meant I couldn't have kids.
Yeah.
But it wasn't just that. It was also, it defined what I looked like. It defined my mental health. It defined whether I got aches and pains. It defined pain that I had. And now I'm in my mid-50s now, and now I'm menopausal. It's just a gift that keeps giving, to be quite honest, because it's even getting worse now. I'm actually having worse side effects. Early on, they always said to me, we think that the payoff might be an easier menopause. It turns out it's actually being worse. And so,
and are you getting any help for that?
Well, I am actually. I've got a GP at the moment who's been pretty understanding. But even so, I was at the GP this week to talk about some of the implications. Like myself, I'm a live broadcaster, and it's really difficult.
Oh, you can, yeah. Where'd you do it?
On various things, BBC Radio, James Bond, that sort of thing. But, when you're in the moment on stuff, it's really difficult, isn't it? Yeah. When you're grasping around for words, or you've got these feelings coming over you. And I was chatting to the GP actually earlier this week just about how I'm feeling, me saying, this doesn't feel like it's mental health, it feels really physical. And effectively she said, well, we can try different types of HRT, but it's just a question of trying it out. We don't really know. And I just can't help feeling that were this something that men went through, we would know.
Well, research is an important part of this, isn't it? Research and people's own experiences can inform that research. When she says try things out, do you mean HRT?
Well, I'm already on HRT, but try different forms of HRT because something isn't quite working. But, Sheila, when you were talking, I was thinking back many, many years ago, because obviously this is something that I've lived with for 30-odd years. Yeah. And I was thinking back, which is one of my moments that I kind of thinking I really shouldn't admit to this on national radio, but one of the moments I remember having a bit of a difficult conversation with a consultant at the hospital. And afterwards I felt like, oh, God, I was a little bit rude to her, but she said to me, she just kept saying, you've got to lose weight, you've got to lose weight. And I said, genuinely, how do I lose weight when I've got a medical condition that makes me put on weight? And she sort of looked to me and said, no, do you know what? Look, I know all about PCOS. There's nothing you can tell me about it. And I didn't.
Who said that to you?
This was the consultant. And I sort of went, do you know what? Try living with it. Because what I felt was there was this massive disconnect between the theory of it and the reality of it.
Also, what doctor?
My life has been.
What doctor says that to a patient? There's nothing you can teach me about this condition. And you just think, oh, really? Well, I live with it. You don't.
Yeah, exactly. And I just do feel like, when I was listening to the news headlines just now and saying, diversity training's going to go. This is part of diversity, isn't it? This is part of really looking at diversity, because over the years I have spent thousands of pounds, Sheila, right, on dealing with the effects of my polycystic ovaries in various different ways, effects on my body, effects on my mental health, all of that. And yes, the NHS will give me the contraceptive pill at times, or it will give me metformin, which made me really ill, or, various. But again, I've been quite bitter about that over my life, thinking, why should I have to do all that when this is a medical thing? And I know in the US, there's a big campaign to change its name, because what they're saying now, the fact it's called polycystic ovaries, everybody thinks it's just about fertility, and it's just about periods. It's not. It defines your whole life.
Well, I was reading.
My entire adult life.
I was reading earlier today, just because I happened to hear a conversation about Hilary Mantel, the author, who's sadly dead now. But she wrote. I've got the piece in front of me now. From back in 2004, she lived all her life from the age of 11 with very severe endometriosis, and in her 20s ended up having extensive surgery for it, losing her womb and her ovaries and you name it, and having to make a decision very early in her life to choose. This is how she became a writer, she said. She chose a line of work where she could have some control over the hours she worked, the places she worked, because she couldn't do a job that involved her having to commit to being somewhere every day. And that was because of her endometriosis. And for years, she was described as, a bit sort of weak and a bit fey and a bit pathetic and, a kind of sickly person. And she wasn't. She was just a woman trying to survive what her body was doing to her, And I'm sure that stigma that goes with these conditions is terrible.
I'm sure it is, and what we know about, thankfully I haven't had endometriosis, but people who have say the pain is off the scale, the pain of that. So poor old Hilary Mantel. Yeah. But I think it is symptomatic of these things, isn't it? That somehow, I don't know whether it's subconsciously or whatever, we kind of categorise illnesses as proper illnesses and ones that are not so. And I've an awful feeling that a lot of women's conditions and illnesses go in the not quite so serious category, But I can tell you, for her it was really serious. It actually affected what work she did. For me, it's been really serious because my life is as it is because of this medical condition.
And you said it affects not just how you feel and pain and fertility, but it affects how you look. Tell me about that.
Well, an obvious one is putting on weight. So it kind of it means that your body doesn't deal with carbs and with other food in the same sort of way. It really affected my skin, really, really spotty. All that sort of thing. My hair would be thinning. And for me, my hair is a big part of my own
identity.
And what I do and my identity.
It's your crown.
In a professional capacity, it really is.
Yes. Yeah.
So those sorts of things. In years gone by, I used to sit and count the number of hairs that would fall out when I'd wash my hair because I was so worried and paranoid about all of that. So as I say, and that, of course, then adds to, your mental health challenges.
And overall, do you feel you have had a second-class healthcare?
I feel on
this issue,
on this issue, yes, I would say overall, I don't feel like the medical profession took it seriously at all. I think they did when I wanted to try and have kids, because I was in a fertility service then, so they could understand that. But I'm finding the menopause hard enough as it is, and I just think, thank God I'm going through it now and not 2 or 3 years earlier, because the first time I went to the doctors, I really didn't get the service.
But there's a better conversation about it now taking place, isn't there? Peg, thanks very much indeed for your call, Peg in Leeds. More of your calls in a few minutes. It's 3:18.
This is LBC.
Over autumn and winter, the rate of burglary increases. But with ADT, you can relax. Enjoy peace of mind with ADT's complete home security system.